I'm Wayne Smith, Leadership Community Director for Life Stage Communities for senior pastors who are long tenured in large churches in their 40s and 50s, joined by Sherry Surratt.
I'm Sherry Surratt, and I'm the Director for Radical Future Innovation Labs here at Leadership Network.
And we're actually in the Innovation Lab, and Sherry's going to talk about that in a little bit. We're talking about the idea of team collaboration, a trend we're seeing in team leadership.
Yeah, and there are some interesting metrics that we're seeing out there, Wayne. One of them that we're seeing is in the world of church planting. We're seeing teams being launched to begin a church versus a sole leader. You know, church planting is hard. And in the past, we've seen maybe one person, maybe a man and a wife go out and launch a church. We're really seeing that move to a team, perhaps joined by a worship leader, other staff members, in addition to the senior pastor of that church. So a team approach versus a solo approach. And
beyond that, another metric we're seeing is that the type of person joining that team is not always coming just from ministry training, but sometimes coming out of the business world or the educational world, because the skills needed to be in good team leadership are not always found in seminary training.
And we're seeing some interesting trends as well. One of the trends that we're seeing in this team collaboration approach is less formal training for those members on the team. A great example here is Mary Carroll at Hosanna Lutheran in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Mary Carroll came from a legal background as a lawyer, and she was not trained from the seminary or ministerial training, but she's been an incredibly valuable member of this team at Hosanna because she brings her skills and experience and influence to what she does there.
You know, another trend that we're seeing is more fluid roles, more organic titles. Interesting, right here in Dallas, Texas, is a church that has brought a guy on that has great background in strategic training, strategic leadership, and highly educational background as well, taking on the role of chief navigator. It is not a title that you've heard a lot in churches, but he's at the upper levels of leadership in the church, and it's because we're no longer seeing just church job descriptions roles, but really what needs to be done and who can do that.
And another trend that we're seeing is more skill-based placement on this team. I mentioned a while ago Mary Carroll, who came from the legal world as a lawyer, and what she's bringing to the table really kind of helps define what she's doing on that team. And we're seeing this more and more in churches across the country, that the skills and experience that they're bringing is really defining their role on this team of leadership.
Beyond the trends, there are some unanswered questions out there, and I know that you have one that you think is a big one. What is that?
Oh, I think a really big question that this trend is bringing is how is this going to affect the role of the senior pastor? You know, traditionally, Wayne, the senior pastor has been the sole visionary and leader of the church. The team collaboration model is really raising some questions. How is this going to impact that senior pastor role? Now, of course, he or she is going to be the lead visionary of their church, but now it's going to be team-based. That senior leader is going to be leaning into the team for help, for direction, even for vision.
And that team, one of the questions that I'm seeing is that team is being made up of a broader range of people, some of them in the boomer age range, but some of them younger. And how do we develop those younger leaders, both in how do they learn and how do we merge the work ethic of the two different generations? And the work ethic is very different from both. And I think it's an unanswered question at this point, but it's one that we will need to tackle going forward.
And Wayne, I really think this is going to impact the future. I think this is going to be a trend that's going to impact churches of all types and sizes. In fact, we're already seeing this happen. In churches that are being launched in church plants, we're seeing it small churches, larger churches. This trend of team collaboration is not just going to be for one size of church. Large churches and small churches are now going to kind of lean into that team collaboration approach. We're already seeing it everywhere.
And the team collaboration approach is not just going to affect churches by size, but also by types. And so if you are from a church of a mainline denomination, if you are an independent church, or if you're part of a church network, I think it's going to impact your approach of leadership. The team collaboration idea is here to stay. And as we are going forward, we would love to have opportunity to connect with you. And if you are a senior pastor who leads a church of some size and would like to be in a group with peers, you can contact me, wayne.smith@leadnet.org. I'm also on Twitter, WayneSmith53. And if you follow me, I'll follow you. And Sherry, how can they find you?
Well, we mentioned Innovation Labs before. In fact, Wayne, we're sitting in front of the logo for our Innovation Lab here at Leadership Network. And I'm collecting teams to join me in an Innovation Lab that are multi-site churches that are interested in figuring out what's next in the future of developing campus pastors. You know, this also is a great trend we're seeing sweep across the country, and this Innovation Lab will help you figure out what's next. How can you develop the best process for that next campus pastor at your next site or location? You can contact me at sherry.surratt@leadnet.org, SHERRY.Surratt, SURRATT. I'm also on Twitter at Sherry Surratt. Again, you follow me, I'll follow you back. We'd love to hear from you.
We look forward to getting to know you.